The mobile is playing up, and I'm not sure if this is recording. There are people celebrating outside, making loud noises. There is mechanical, very loud noises were coming from next door, but they may have ceased. I'm not entirely sure whether they're coming out on the mobile. And, these people around here are celebrating because they have killed my dog. And that is because they are possessed, end time, negative people. Even low, they are really probably not people in the true sense of that description, shall we say. The neighbours around here have killed the dog, and they have contributed to me being negative and feeling negative towards the animal because they have used the entity that possessed the poor dear Simba dog while he was alive. But when the Matrix and its possessed beings are finished, even with their own, shall we say, they just destroy. That is their whole thing. Now, I'm too distressed to keep filming the video, and there is noise next door, and I am exhausted because I have to deal with the loss and negative possessed people who are destructive and anti-life in every way. They are so filled with their own inner hatred of real human beings that there are no lengths that they don't go to cause distress, havoc, and particularly if they can ultimately cause death at the hands even of the real life human beings. That is their ultimate pleasure and aim in this reality. That is their ultimate pleasure and their ultimate game and gain in this reality, because they are negative, destructive, apparent human beings. They come in human form, but they do not represent the real life human race. They are possessed human beings. And so when possession takes place, the entity that possesses the human body means that the human body is no longer a natural life-giving or life-receiving human being. It only gives and receives negative energy. Even though, of course, it is trained in the art of human acting. By that I mean they train themselves when possession takes place to act as human as possible. So, even though they have caused the death of the dog, indirectly, if you tell them about it, they will appear to be very sympathetic and sad about the occurrence, which they have indirectly and secretly connived and contributed to. This I know. But it does me no good. And I better fold up because I have to deal with deal with the reality that whatever I'm feeling now, I have been, because I am surrounded by negative entities, that over the last few years you have been interacting and playing with them, consciously and unconsciously. But you cannot help that if you are in that environment. But at the same time, because it is an end-time situation, you are, if you can't remove yourself from the environment and you can't remove the animals from the environment, which actually, sometimes you're even staying in an environment as much because of your own necessity or limitations, but also because you do have an animal, because you can't, even if you were more mobile and more versatile and more courageous yourself, you would not be able to just go and live anywhere if you have an animal. But at any rate, I'm too exhausted to keep going here, and I have to deal with all of this. But all I'm saying is that you have the death of an animal, and you already feel grief and guilt and all sorts of negative emotions. But because there is also a loss and a love, because you still are a real person, a real human being, a real life form, as opposed to the dead life forms, the dead life people that are around. They are now celebrating with extra noise to make the moment and the time even to grieve uncomfortable, unpleasant and distressful even more. That is what you have in Leichhardt here in Sydney, on Henry Street. I'm number 3. This is not coincidence, because everything is a matrix, and the matrix is controlled by negatively possessed people. Negatively possessed people. People, apparent people who are possessed by negative, dark, destructive, anti-life entities or beings that are not visible to the human eye, but possess the bodies of apparent human beings, and then cause distress, through any means they deem. Sight and sound, because we are human beings that have senses, and our senses are very sensitive to sight, sound, etc. These negative beings covertly, C-O-V, covertly, secretively, use the senses to cause distress, in times of distress even. That shows how low they go. And there is no low that these beings don't go to, because the lower they go, the more content they are, because they are anti-life, anti-positive human vibration, which is a love vibration, or a vibration and a natural, productive, creative way of being. Whereas their natural way of being is only to cause distress and destruction. They do not produce anything. They may work and they may do things that are in this world, but that is only to infiltrate into the human environment, or to interact with human beings in order to covertly destroy and cause them negative emotions. I'm folding up here because it makes you feel sick at this time, and every day really, but more so at a time of the loss of life. Even though it is possessed life, it was once real life. I can't go into details about all of that because I don't have the energy, and but I just wanted to film it for the record, even though I was have been up for it a really, really, really long time, and the dog died straight after I had just gone to bed. So I've left him here until I can make arrangements to find him a safe and peaceful resting place, which he certainly did not have any safety or any peace in this reality, even though everything is used by these negative possessed people around here to create a negative I can't say anymore. I'm folding up. I just wanted to show the situation, if the noise is coming out at this present time, to show how this reality really works. And there is no accident about these things. There's no accident about noise. It may appear if you had a death in the family, shall we say, and then the neighbour does construction work through the wall next door, that is just coincidence, because they don't know about the death. But the point is that, would it make any difference? No, it wouldn't, because I have been told we do not care about your dog by the very neighbours, the very people around here that I'm speaking of. They have told me straight up when I have complained about noise outside and said that it's causing seizures in the dog, and that the dog could die, and that the dog is left in a crippled state because of the seizures, and has now finally passed out of the misery of this reality, or this environment, this local environment even. Of course, I know it's not just a local environment. This is a worldwide thing that is going on, a worldwide phenomenon, if you like. It's not a phenomenon, it is the worldwide reality. And if you can't hear me too well, or if I'm being aggressive, it is because I am sad, but also extremely angry. And of course they feed off, these negative possessed people feed off that anger and that negative energy, because before the noise comes through, with the negative noise showing that they are glad that the dog has died, before that I was feeling distress and guilt, but also love. These people cannot tolerate the presence or the feeling or the emotion of love, because that is a human emotion, and that is what, with the thinking and the emotion and the feeling, is what contributes and creates the reality or the material world. And they want the material world to be theirs. They don't want it to be of your love creation. They want it to be of their negative creation. They want only a negative reality, because they can only survive and feed off and get negative energy, because they're an anti-life life form. They're not a life form at all, really. They're an anti-life dead form that consumes and takes the energy of real life. I don't know if I'm putting this right. It's very hard to explain, but all I'm saying is that when I feel negative emotions, anger, distress, and contempt, and even hatred, that is what they enjoy. Then they feel content, and it actually keeps them going. It's their sustenance. It's almost like their food, because they have no inner life or no food of their own. And positive vibration, positive energy, which a normal human being, if they're in a normal, healthy, natural, happy environment, gives out, which is why they endeavour to cause death and destruction and negative sound and sight for human beings, so that a human being feels negative and distressed and angry and hateful all the time. So therefore then they have food, they have energy, they are feeding off it. It keeps them going. They never feel alive, because they are already dead. They're dead. They're dead beings that try to possess by making a human being very negative. They try to possess the bodies of human beings and animals. So they cause distress in an animal, and then they can possess that animal's body. Also, they can use already dead bodies and through technology, they can do many things that we're unaware of. So they prefer a more artificial body to even inhabit. If you follow me. And I don't understand these things, because obviously I only see them, but I don't understand how technology works. I only see the results of it. So I know it exists and I know what it's capable of, but I don't understand how they do it, because as human beings we are kept in the dark to the nature of this real reality by the controllers of the reality, because they use technology only for negative purposes, to control, to suppress and to limit real human beings and cause them distress, so they can feed off that distress and keep themselves going. It is an energy source for them, because they have lost, because they are dead, they have no energy of their own. So they have to, like in some of the movies that we've seen, they have to feed off the negative energy of a human being. And at a time of loss and grief, if you are not in the right frame of mind, if you are riddled with guilt and real sadness, that is something they feed off. But if you mingle it with love, as I was trying to do a few hours ago, which is why the noise has come up, in other words, to see a possessed animal perhaps lose, and be finally rid of the possessed entity that it's possessed the body. That is not as negative as how you would normally experience death, because when you see death, you think you have lost. You think you've lost that person or that life. But if you know that that life was really possessed by a negative, destructive entity, then you see it as a release from that control, that entrapment, that it's what's that word? It's bondage. It's being in bondage. You're not a free dog. You're not a free person. You've been taken over by something else that's destructive. So in death, you are freed of that. So if you look at it that way, as I was trying to, then there is not so much anger. There is a kind of, I can't explain it. I have to fold up here. I'll make another video about it when a little bit of time has passed. I'm only making the video to show if you could hear the negative noises. I don't know if they're coming out because I don't know if the mobile is picking the noises up. But I'm certainly picking it up. And I don't know if the mobile's even at the right setting. But I'll have to fold up. I'm so sorry to make such poor videos at such a time and to not make sense. But the Matrix does this because, see, I was asleep in bed. I'd only just been in bed for a short period of time. I'm not awake. So I'm not making something that is professional, because it's not like I'm just sending it to one relative or one person, but that's how it will come across, and that is how it is. So each individual person, that if anyone hears it, they just have to try to understand and comprehend what is going on in this world at a personal level for each real life human being at this time, and has been going on for a number of years for myself anyway. Like, this is just accumulation of it in a way. Everything just every day is just more of an accumulation of what has been before. And that also is part of the pressure of this time, and that is the pressure that is being put on you by these negative, possessed, apparent real-life human beings that are surrounding real-life human beings at this time, and have been for before this even. It's just that, before you become aware of a matrix and its controlled, and its system of control by its negative possessed beings, negative possessed people, if you to look at it superficially the way you would really see it. Even if you just experience people that are continually in your life around you, creating negative frequencies, where it be noisy neighbours, people doing mechanical work on the street, people in cars that like to make a lot of noise or flash their lights a bit, or all this sort of stuff, or even if it's just negative people that you speak to, and you know that after you have encountered them, at some point you realise that they make you feel less in some way, sometimes more obvious than others. And when you become aware of it, you will almost see the possessed beings.